Hey there, it's Roman, and today we're going to be going over our third tutorial on Unity. So our four tasks that we're going to be doing is creating a level 1 scene. We already have our main menu, and so now we're going to have a scene that we can load and play in. And two, we're creating the terrain, like the ground, the level, floor for our player. And then we're going to set up the lighting so we can actually see where we're going and such like that. Alright, sorry about that. Okay, so, yeah, we're going to be setting up the lighting so we can have a nice lit area to have our player run in. And then the fourth one is going to be adding the player. It's going to be a very simple, basic player. And we could have it where it's a first-person shooter type of game, or an RTS where the camera is like viewing above, like looking down on the player. There's many different ways you can have it. So, yeah, I'm just going to show you all those basic ways of doing that. So let's go into Unity. Alright, so we have our main menu, we saved it off and everything, and we play it, we have our play button, but whenever we click it, it does this. It's like, it goes back into the editor mode and gives us an error right here. It says level 1 couldn't be loaded because it has not been added to the build settings. And if you remember, we added the main menu to the build settings right here. We have to add a level 1 scene to the build settings. So that's what we're going to do. So just to do that, we're going to file new scene. And as you can see, the camera got reset to that weird position where it's 1, -10, and it's just like there's nothing on it anymore. It's fresh, new, clean scene. And so what we're going to do is get rid of this camera. So just select it, delete. Okay. So let's first save this. So Control S, scenes, and we're going to call it level 1. You can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to say level 1. And there we go, saved as level 1. And let's go into File, Build Settings, and click Add Current. There we go, level 1 is like put into the build settings. It's saved off here. So now if we go back into the main menu scene and click play, when we click the play button right here, it'll load that level 1 scene, just like that. And you see it's just a gray screen because there is no camera in level 1 scene, and whenever there's no camera, it just gives you a blank screen because there's nothing that you can see. There's no camera. So everything's working perfectly fine right now. But now let's go ahead and add our terrain. So to do that, we're going to do create other terrain right there. Game object, create other terrain. There's tons of other stuff. The terrain's right there at the bottom. Alright, so now we get this massive gray plane. It has no height to it. As you can see, it is perfectly flat, but it is pretty big going along the X and Z axis. X, Z, and it goes all the way out like 100 or something like that units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 units in both directions, which is pretty big. So what we're going to do is, here's the center point of our world right here, and this is like going off in its own direction that way. So what we're going to do to make it centered is, since it is 20 and 20, we're going to do position -10 or -100, -1000. There we go. So it's actually 2000 by 2000. So we're going to go back 1000 in that direction and go back 1000 in that direction. So here's 0, 0. We're going -1000, -1000. So it puts it right there. So now it is perfectly centered. And then we can go ahead and click center right here. That changes the little tool where we can move the plane around its point relative to the mesh, which is now centered. Do pivot, which means its actual point, its origin, but we're going to center, so it's going to the very center of our plane. So now that we have everything centered off, just like that, we're going to go ahead and give it a texture. And this could be grass, rock, dirt, whatever you want. So let's go ahead and do that. And so you have your terrain selected. In the inspector panel, you click this paintbrush, and then right here, edit textures, add texture. Now you get this little window, and right here, texture, you're going to click select, and you get all these different textures that come with it automatically. And we're going to select grass hill. Double click that, puts it right there. And for size, you usually leave it at 15 or make it a little smaller, 10. This is just the size of the texture. Because if you have it like really big, then it's gonna have really big really big textures placed, and it's gonna be a lower quality because they're stretched out so big. So the smaller the size, the more of it is gonna be fit into the mesh, and the better resolution it'll be. So it's always good to like do a smaller size, like 10. Click add, and there you go. You can see it's just like green. There's no actual texture. Well, there actually is. It's just we have to go into the mesh, get a little closer, and there we go. Now you can actually see the texture there. Oops. So there's our texture, and it is tiled, going in both X and Z direction. So now that we have a texture on our terrain, we're going to go ahead and make it like hilly, make it so it's not flat. So to do that, we're going to click right here, the raise lower terrain button, and you'll get this blue weird glowing thing on the terrain. If you go really far away from it, small, then it's bigger. So to use this, you just click down and move the mouse, and it will raise the terrain like that. And then you hold shift and click, it'll make it go down. It'll lower the terrain. Just keep holding shift and holding down the left mouse button, and it makes it go down. So that's how you do that. And you can change the brush size right here, make it 100 so it's really big. And the opacity, if you make it large, then it'll make it go up higher. If you bring it down to a lower number, it'll go up much slower. So those are the basic controls for the raise and lower terrain button. And then you see there's different brush shapes that we can use. So like this is the simple glow one right here. If you do this one, which is solid black dot, it gives you a solid color, and whenever you do it, it's sort of like a can shape going up. Click and hold and just move around, and it raises your terrain just like that. Let's make this go down so we get a nice clean thing so I can show you more. There we go. Okay. Let's make the opacity about like just under 50. It's good. Right around here. It's a nice controllable speed. Brush size right around there. And then there's this one where it's like a lot of speckles. That gives you like a like roughen sort of effect. So if you want to make mountains, you can make the brush size higher, opacity higher, do it. And there you get mountains, and then you can give it, instead of a grass texture, you'll add a rocky texture, and that's how you make mountains. Really simple, just like that. So let's make that go down again. And we have neat little shapes like stars. Whoa. It's because I moved the brush around, so it just like smeared it basically. But you can click, keep clicking, and it'll keep raising it. Like that. You do like top down, just keep clicking. There you go. Now you have a star shape, so you can make really neat patterns. Alright, so those are some of the brushes for the raise and lower terrain, and then there's the paint height button. And what that does is it usually just raises your terrain to a certain height that you can specify. So like if you want it to go 120 units high, then it'll raise it up to that height. And it won't do it right away, like see how like it'll slope off. So that's how you make plateaus and stuff like that. Go like that. See how it's still like a hill right here? But if you keep going a little higher, then it'll start to plateau off. And you can make the height a little higher, and then go right here. And that's how you make like a different level. So it's like level 1, 2, and 3. And that's how you do that. You can make the height go all the way down to 0 again. And that 0 is the ground level for the terrain. So that's how you make cool shapes and stuff. Alright, so that's how you do that.